You should stop tuning in right now if you are looking for get-rich-quick products. Okay, it will not get you filthy rich.
Jeff Yeo, co-founder of Big Tiny Group. Big Tiny has turned tiny homes into a movement, showing that sustainable living can be both comfortable and stylish. In 2018, they won the Emerging Enterprise Asia Award for being the most promising startup, and they were on the same stage together with Carousel, Mighty Jacks, XM Studios, and FOMO Pay.
I'm on a mission to make every city dweller stay in a tiny house of ours while minimizing the impact of tourism on the environment and still being able to profit from it as well.
And how many tiny homes you have in total right now?
Probably 400-500 all over the world. It's about encouraging city dwellers to reconnect with nature, ensuring that our guests have an experiential accommodation space in all the nice scenic areas that we have. I think I'm your average, very normal, low profile, void deck soccer kicking kid. I always believe in doing something that is beneficial to all parties whenever possible, beneficial to the community, beneficial to the people I sell to, beneficial to the environment and all that.
Let's talk about COVID.
When situations like COVID happen, it actually cuts out the source of business completely. We decided to make the painful decision of closing the holiday rental site of Big Tiny.
And what would you say to business owners who also have a dream like you?
It's about how you can still push through despite the odds being stacked up against you.
Welcome to the Man on Mission, where visionary founders, leaders share their big ideas and their larger-than-life missions. Today we have our guest, Mr. Jeff Yeo. He's a father of 3 and the co-founder of Big Tiny Group. Right, over the last few years, Big Tiny has turned tiny homes into a movement, showing that sustainable living can be both comfortable and stylish. Today, the company is actually at the 8 figures, and in 2018, they won the Emerging Enterprise Asia Award for being the most promising startup. And they were on the same stage together with Carousel, Mighty Jacks, XM Studios, and FOMO Pay. In 2021, a prominent businessman in Singapore, Mr. Koh Boon Hui, invested in their business, and they were valued at a market cap of 30 million. Right now, it has already reached a valuation of 60 to 80 million. Today, he'll be sharing all about Big Tiny and how we can tap into rental income that's truly passive, has true ROI, and safe, all without the headaches of owning a property, all without the headaches of thinking about tax, rental, investment, costs, so on and so forth. So let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Jeff Yeo. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, thanks, Tammy. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff, and I'm a co-founder of Big Tiny. So I'm on a mission to make every city dweller stay in a tiny house of ours while minimizing the impact of tourism on the environment and still being able to profit from it as well.
So Jeff, describe your childhood. What were you like as a boy?
I think I'm your average, very normal, low profile, void deck soccer kicking kid. I don't think I stood out in any way or the other than, of course, being a bit, I would say, mischievous at times. Yeah, but I was a very low profile, very normal, average neighborhood kid. Yeah.
What was your family environment like? Were they entrepreneurs?
No. So both my mom and dad are actually employees working in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you were young, were there any particular thing that was different about you?
Not really, but I think I was a little entrepreneur back then. The thrill of actually making money from my friends, but of course, making sure that they benefit in the process really excites me. Yep.
Describe what are some examples of entrepreneur projects that you did when you were young.
Okay, so I think when I was younger, I used to charge my friends, sorry if you are watching this, 10 cents, 20 cents for repairing their mechanical pencils when the lead was stuck inside.
How old were you when you did that?
I think I was probably 7 or 8 years old, thereabouts. And then, of course, there's the very popular country flag eraser. So I would actually win battles with my friends and then after that sell that country flag eraser for a higher price, like maybe 50 cents or $1, because it was far superior in terms of the battle capacity. Yeah. So
it's kind of staged in that way, right? Because everyone knows that it's just different country flag erasers. But the fact that you could, in a way, artificially increase the price, right? And be able to sell it at a higher value.
Yeah.
What was that thrill like for you when you were a kid?
I think it's very interesting because the way you position a certain product or a certain service that actually makes the person feel that that product, which is maybe exactly the same as all the other products, but you make him feel that that is far superior. I thought that is really a very interesting thing to me back then. And then, of course, I would say the thrill is how you can make a living when young. So you have extra money to buy more drinks during recess time, buy more rubbers to sell to people and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and at your time, one bowl of noodles was probably how
50
much?
cents.
50 cents, right? So that's a lot of money. Like selling one for $1 and your cost is probably 20 cents.
10 cents, 20 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 10x.
Yeah, 10x,
margin almost. Right? So how many do you remember you sold?
I don't really remember. Yeah, but I love doing these things purely because of the fact that it is something that's fun. It's something that you also can see increases the confidence of the person who buys it from you as well, or whatever. But it I would say probably that's where my, I guess, business ethos started as well, because I always believe in doing something that is beneficial to all parties whenever possible, beneficial to the community, beneficial to the people I sell to, beneficial to the environment and all that. Yeah, so that's something I try to stick very closely to in all the things that I do.
So that's probably one of your first endeavors when you're in primary school. How about as you go through your student life, were there any other interesting initiatives that you started?
Yes, so as we approach secondary school and all that, you start to have BGRs and all that. So the common pain point that I identified back then was that you will have like anniversaries and all that.
Yeah.
So in time to come, you will run out of ideas on what to get for your other half, your loved ones. So I started this business. I still remember, I think the name was called art technology, back when very, very early days. I think I was in secondary school or JC, where it is all about making that perfect handcrafted gift for your loved one. So what I did was I just charged them, I think, between $10 to $50, depending on their budget, of course. Then they tell me what are the likes and dislikes of their other half, and then I'll come up with an idea and I'll craft it for them. Yeah, so that was how I started that business. And then I went on to charge a premium. If they want their gift to be the only one in the world, then they have to pay at $50. So I won't replicate that idea for other people as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I did in secondary school. And then, of course, I think in uni, there's like friendship days and everything. So I participate in bazaars and sell handmade gifts as well.
Wow. So you're a handcrafter.
Yeah, I love handicraft and all that because I thought it stimulates the mind. And it's amazing because everything that you do is probably unique in its own sense and probably one piece around the world.
So what was your most premium piece you sold for? What was it like?
No, actually the most memorable one was this Hershey Kisses rose, which I've added on to an origami flower. So I sold that for $10. So it's like, one packet is only how much?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have the picture? We want to see it.
No.
One of a kind.
I can sell you a bunch if you want.
$20 now, inflation.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. It's interesting, right? Because you mentioned that your family background was, regular employees, regular folks out there working. And you came from a humble background as well, right? So what do you think it was in you that allowed you to go out there and do something so uniquely different from other people?
I guess it may be the fact that my father loved to talk a lot as well. So he loves to speak to people from every walk of life. And sometimes I sit beside him when he's talking to his friends, his clients and all that. But I always find it very interesting how each and every person actually brings along a unique story, a unique experience, something that I may not have heard of. I mean, of course, I was a kid back then, so there's probably a lot of things that I have not heard of. But that sparked me, I guess, in terms of thinking about the perspectives from different people. Yeah.
And what were some interesting perspectives that you learned as a kid that you remember even till today?
I guess some experiences in my life, I actually saw certain scenarios and certain situations that also crafted another principle of mine in life, which is about making sure that you have options regardless of what situation you are being caught in. Yeah, so even that till today, that's something that I hold on very dearly and something that I teach to my kids as well.
Yeah. What was that particular scenario that, if you could share, that made you have this principle?
So basically, it's a close friend or close relative where it's about basic healthcare needs, and then being caught in a situation whereby, you are not taking that vaccination or whatnot just because you couldn't afford to do so. Yeah. So, I mean, different things have different values to people, but I would say that, things like healthcare, things like food, a shelter and all that is somewhat important. It's like the very basics of, I would say, a good quality life. So making sure that you have that option to choose to take that vaccination or to choose to eat that particular food that you really love is something that I thought was quite interesting. And I found that to be quite a nice guiding principle in life as well, is to make sure that basically you are available to a lot of different options when you are caught in a situation.
I'll imagine last time vaccination jabs was mostly subsidized by the government. But the fact that they have to make the choice of, maybe it's expensive, I don't want to take it, I don't think it's for me, right? Really seemed like they didn't really have a very good array of choices for them to choose from.
It may not be that they cannot really afford that, but they probably would value that at a lower value than other choices that they could spend the money on. Yeah, I mean, that it could be that situation, but I mean, from the thing that I actually gleaned from that was having options. Yeah, making sure that they have the option to choose.
What are other principles of life lessons that your father have taught you?
I guess it's also to enjoy what you are doing, because I think my dad and my mom, they've been staying in one company for their entire life.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess that's also an important principle and important lesson in life as well, is to enjoy what you are doing. So even till today, I think I love what I'm doing at Big Tiny.
Amazing. So let's talk about, when you go into your graduation, right? After you graduated. And what are some of the learning lessons through your entrepreneur projects that you brought forth with you in your working life?
I would say that through all the little business undertakings that I took over the years, it's always to be, I would say, open-minded enough to change along the way. It's also about the willingness and determination to push things through as well, because life is not a bed of roses. It's not cliche. It really is. It's not in life. So it's about how you can still push through despite the odds being stacked up against you, because you just want to see the business continue, for example.
Are there any examples of that when you were younger?
When I was younger, I think it was just having a large order in for corporate door gift and stuff. So I wrote in.
That's how old when you were doing that?
Uni.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then was doing it with a few other friends. And then, because it was late into the night, the orders were so much. Then we have exams coming up as well. So the stress led to people quarreling.
How many orders were that, if you recall?
I think it's a few hundred, if I'm not wrong. And it required quite a bit of assembly work and stuff, because it was a handmade gift, a door gift. Then, then you're tired. Yeah. Probably hungry, then you have emotions running wild as well. But it's about how you already made a promise to the client, so you need to really continue pushing through, plowing through, to deliver the order and make good the promise.
How bad did it got during that time for you to fulfill the orders?
I think my other friends were really quarreling over small stuff like the quality of the thing, because it's like a chain, right? Like somebody starts something, then you hand on to the next person to finish the part. But it was it was like, should we just not do this and just go to bed, because it's really tiring. That's a small incident, I guess, that illustrates this.
When in your school life, right, did you started doing entrepreneurship with your friends?
Actually, most of the time it was myself, until probably few years after I graduate.
Okay.
Then I started doing it with friends. Previously, it was always on my own or had some hired help.
I see. Even the corporate gifting was a hired help, or was it a friend venture?
Hired hired help, sort of hired help.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I asked my friends to help me and I paid them for it.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll go into that later on
Sure.
because I think there's a difference between doing business yourself versus doing it as a group, right? And pros and cons on both sides as well. But I want to go back to, what you did as a child. And I thought that was really, really special. So what were you like on the academic side? Were you very focused or kind of like, I just pass and, go on with life?
So when I was a kid, I think I was quite bright. Purely because of the fact that my mom was sitting beside me with a cane in her hand. I was very cheeky. I was, I think, telling her, when I was caught watching TV a day before my exams, then I would give excuses like, oh, because tomorrow is Chinese, that's why I'm watching Channel 8.
Oh,
Or
okay.
English, I'll be watching Channel 5. But I had my mom to thank for that. So I really scored very well when I was younger, when she was sitting beside me with a cane. And then, as you get older and she did not sit beside me anymore, and then the grades was okay, average, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were your aspirations like as a kid?
My aspirations as a kid, I think it varied. When I was younger, obviously I had that policeman dream, which I fulfilled in secondary school through joining NPCC.
Right.
Then, I also had, when I grew older, I don't know about sports car and everything. So I said when I grew up, I wanted to be a second-hand car dealer because I could have access to a lot of nice cars and I could drive different cars every day. Yeah. But never actually thought about going into entrepreneurship proper per se. Yeah.
So all your entrepreneur initiatives you started as a young was more of a curiosity thing and then why not try? Yeah, how was it like? How do you get the inspiration to start all these?
I guess it's really stemming from personal pain points first and then seeing what are the problems that I thought I could solve, be it free or at a charge. Yeah, but it's about solving problems that I personally felt first. And then, of course, I went on to think if there are others that are also facing the same thing as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then monetizing it.
So what did money mean to you? Because at primary school, you were living the, I would say, high roller life, selling erasers for 10x and 20x the price.
Yeah.
What did money mean to you back then?
To be very honest, I think when I was younger, because I didn't have those financial stresses or not, I mean, although I come from a normal family, but we are not I say we were quite above average in terms of finances. So we're not quite in a situation where I'm worrying about my next meal and whatnot. So back then, money meant nothing more than a figure when I was younger, and true to when I was much older as well. But the true value of money, I came to realize only much later when I started my first startup with another group of friends back then. So it was then that I realized, a McDonald's meal that cost maybe $6-7 back then could actually buy me 3 packets of chicken rice, or a packet of instant noodles that's going for $2-3 could actually suffice me for 5 meals, for example. Yeah, because that period of time, there was obviously no income.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course I was married as well, on the way to having a kid. So that period of time, I saw the true value of money. It was like a changing point in my life, a waking up point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What exactly was that to you? Because you mentioned the example of a McDonald's meal equivalent to 3 chicken rice packet and 5 instant noodles, right? So what was your thought process behind this calculation and why do you get to this point?
I guess it's because the income was not stable as an entrepreneur, and I was just starting out with my other friends.
Yeah.
So the worry was about basics like food, putting food on the table, not only for myself, but for my family as well. I mean, when I was younger, I was by myself. I didn't have to worry about anyone else. I am responsible only for myself. So if I starve, I starve. It's my own choice, right? But when you begin to have a family, it's not just about you anymore. You can't just do whatever you like and be willful about it, because what you do actually affects the entire family. Yeah. So that was the point where I saw the value of money via basic necessities like food, for example.
I see.
Yeah.
And was that the startup stage of Big Tiny or was it another business?
It was actually another business.
Okay. Do you mind sharing what was that business venture you went to?
It was actually something like an on-demand massage.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's for ladies by ladies, and it's actually started up in Bangkok with another group of friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
Your first business went all the way to Bangkok.
Yeah, because we were trying to, I would say, change the massage scene in Bangkok where the masseurs are actually getting very little money. So we wanted to turn the model around and pay them more than, or rather pay them what they deserve. Yep.
Oh, that's very interesting. I mean, in our private conversations, I never had that before. So let's deep dive into that, right? And how old you started that business?
I think probably in my 20 or 30s.
20 or 30s. And that was which year, if you remember correct?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, now.
Okay. Yeah, but okay, so it's very interesting, right? Because from your school days, you always had this tendency of finding a pain point and then providing a solution and monetize, right? How did you discover this pain point when you were in Bangkok?
So basically, I think in Bangkok, they are known for very cheap and reasonable cost massages and everything. So for that business itself, the pain point I saw was actually, number one, like if you are a tourist to Bangkok, for example, you won't know which shops masseurs are of a good quality. That's number one. Number two is for me, I would personally prefer having the massage in my room.
More private.
More private. And number two is because I love the soft touch massages, like not very painful kind, so that I could fall asleep.
Yeah.
So after a massage, you fall asleep, you're damn comfortable. You get up and then you have to make your way back to the hotel. And during that period of time, usually you'll be coated like muaji, like Singapore, because of the dust and the dirt from the road, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And then so basically number one will be you have to wake up. You have to walk back and you'll be dirty again and you have to take a shower again. Yeah. So I would prefer an in-room massage where basically after the massage is done, you can continue sleeping. You're not dusty or dirty. So when we saw that, I thought that was also something that quite a number of people prefer. But what I saw back then also was that in Bangkok, there's always a CD image as well. So every time the masseur comes, the client might be a guy. So yeah, that situation. And the girl might not be well protected in that sense. And then for that risk that she's taking, she's not paid enough, sufficient.
Right.
So what we wanted to try to solve was actually providing quality massages where all the massage therapists are actually having proper massage certificates, a certain number of years of working experience. And to solve the CD image situation, it is a for ladies by ladies startup. But of course, if the massage therapists that I onboard, they are comfortable with male clients, then by all means, they can choose to undertake that as well. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many questions, starting a business in Bangkok, right?
Yeah.
What were some of your challenges doing business in Bangkok?
I would say it's the understanding the local culture. And because ultimately, we will also be marketing this to the locals there, in addition to the tourists as well. So lots of things to think about because we also launched it via an app. So it's also about onboarding.
Tech company.
Correct. Onboarding the massage therapists as well, who are mostly quite elderly. So we had to actually have a induction session, onboarding session to teach them how to use the app and everything. Yeah, then it's about marketing it. Then because it's a startup, so limited funds as well, foreign country. So quite a number of challenges back then, I would say.
And I suppose you had to travel there very, very often as well.
Yes. Yeah, at the initial stages. Yeah, until we found, I would say, head of operations, who is actually one of our massage therapists who we found that could actually take on this responsibility. Yeah.
And at that point in time, you already had a wife and your first kid was coming?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that for you, balancing your family and entrepreneur?
That one was still, I guess, quite okay in terms of the hours because we flew in maybe once every quarter back then. Yeah, and then once the operations was smooth, we sort of automated the whole process. And technology is so advanced nowadays, you don't really have to be down there. Yeah, so it was okay back then.
And I assume that was your first business with a group of friends, right? So how different was it between your previous experience as a solopreneur and versus with a group of friends?
Okay, I would say that the experience is definitely very different in the sense that if you are doing it with a group of friends or a team, for example, there is ways for you to discuss things. But when you are a solopreneur, for example, everything is you. You are the CEO, you are the COO, you are the CMO and everything. You won't have anybody to bounce ideas off. And I would venture to go as far as to say that you're not God, so you won't know every single thing. So you would most of the time need to start to learn things on the go, as opposed to if you have a team. So a team that is complementary would be a team where each and everyone has a different skill set. So when it comes to solving problems, it is definitely much faster, much more productive, and I'll say even more innovative ideas would come out from a group discussion. Yeah.
And what do you think is important in a relationship with your shareholders or stakeholders?
I guess it's the openness in communication, because if you are too nice to each other, you try to hide some facts to make the things rounder or more palatable for each other, it hinders progress. So I guess it's about, number one, being really open about it, and number two, everyone not taking it personally, for example. It's more, I guess, the issue at hand or the things that we have to solve at hand. That is the utmost importance, and not directed at the person So that is, I guess, something that is really important in business.
I guess that boils down to the art of communication, right? Because for me, I run multiple businesses as well, and I do have some ventures with friends. Right? So I do agree that, a lot of times there's a lot of alignment that needs to happen, a lot of conversations and open conversation that needs to happen, right? So what are some examples in your group entrepreneurship journey that you realized that, because of that openness, it led to better results?
I guess probably a lot of examples. Like, for example, for me, usually I'm doing the branding, the marketing, or the sales side of the house. So understanding, for example, about operations, I guess is really important as well, because you will need to understand the product as much as you can in order to be able to sell it or to articulate it in front of your clients effectively. So for example, for Big Tiny itself, Dave sharing the operations lead time or what goes on behind the scene would actually enable me to understand the whole process better, or the challenges that they are facing, so that we would also be better able to advise our clients on in case there are delays, in case there are things that crop up. So the openness should be there so that I guess we all function better. Or even on my end, for example, if I wanted to reduce the lead time to please my clients, for example, I also need to make sure that Dave understands where I'm coming from, and not maybe, for example, hypothetical situation, he thinks that, I'm just trying to reduce the lead time so I could increase the number of sales. Not from that kind of standpoint, but if you're not open about it.
Absolutely. And how do you communicate without making it personal or without hurting someone?
I would say it's about having that conversation before starting even. So it's about right at the start saying that, we are in this together. So if there's any issues that crop up, be it within your area of expertise or outside the area of your expertise, it's always about the matter at hand and not the person, for example. So having that hard conversation before starting helps a lot. So that you don't misunderstand each other during the process, for which maybe you don't have a lot of time, a lot of reaction time to do so.
Absolutely. And what happened to your business, the tech business?
Oh, it closed down during COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also because my massage therapist who was handling the ops and day-to-day in Bangkok for us, she found the love of her life. She married and migrated to the States, yeah.
Oh no. So I guess it's a good news for her, right? But not so good news for the business, right?
I guess it's okay because I think the COVID affected us a lot as well because with all the restrictions going on, it's making it harder for the on-demand massage business to carry on. So we also decided jointly that we should just close it down. But yeah, I'm still in touch with her as well on Facebook and all that. So through technology, and sometimes when we do go down there and she's there, we'll meet up for meals.
Yeah. And through this first business venture with a group of friends, right? What are some of your learning lessons that you took away from this?
I guess, it goes back to about being open in your communications and also remembering that, not to treat things personally. Because in a startup, the situations are ever changing. It requires you to be really nimble on your feet as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes of, flaring up when things are not going our way. So it's always good, I guess, to always take a step back and remember that the most pressing thing is to solve the issue at hand as opposed to, getting angry, which doesn't attribute to anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
At all. Yeah.
I read a post recently about this person saying, when is it the time to give up? Right? I mean, as a startup, yes, you have a lot of situations at hand. And arguably, if you were to push through the COVID period, maybe there's a better horizon at the end of the day for the business, right? So what are some of your criteria when you say, okay, this is it, let's move on to the next venture versus, let's figure things out, it will get better?
I guess if it's something that you started with a group of friends, you need to have that common consensus as well. So probably majority consensus, or whether at least the key people playing active roles in the startup should still want to continue on in the business. Yeah. And then of course, the more practical aspects to look at would be running costs. If you incur very high overheads, for example, then when it reaches a certain point where it's draining your finances too much, it may be time to give up. But I would say that would be after you fulfill criteria one, which is that, majority of the key players in the business does not want to continue. Yeah, but the last criteria I think would also be whether you yourself see a future or even bigger growth potential if you manage to survive the situation at that point in time, for example.
And at that point in time, did you see the potential? I mean, 1 and 2 aside, but just based on the total addressable market and potential of the business.
I guess if you talk about it, measuring from that aspect, yes, there is still potential. But because I think that situation also made me see that for Thailand, for Bangkok, for example, it relies heavily on international tourism. Yeah, so when situations like COVID happen, it actually cuts out the source of business completely.
Yeah.
So that was also, I guess, a learning point itself where, if you operate a business that is not local, it is actually overseas, it is very important to make sure that you have a very strong domestic demand to ensure that it survives situations like, for example, COVID itself. Because if you were to imagine international tourists not being able to visit, but you have very strong local regular clients, you would be able to survive for sure. So that's one, I think, very key takeaway that I had with operating overseas startups or Singapore startup with overseas operations.
I see. So it's a matter of having multiple different income sources so that you are protected and vaccinated against black swan events.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. We have reached the end of the first session. In the next session, we'll be talking about Big Tiny, how it went from 0 to 30 million. So stay tuned.